Welcome to The Route to Revenue, two entrepreneurs sharing the path to curbside cash flow. I'm Ben.
And I'm Mike. We're both founders of two successful recurring revenue businesses in the home services industry, and we've built our companies from startup to profitable and scalable operations.
This is the show for entrepreneurs serious about building sustainable home service businesses. Whether you're starting out, scaling up, or ready to move beyond trading time for money, we share proven strategies for creating predictable monthly revenue streams.
And while our expertise comes from the bin cleaning industry, the systems and principles we discuss work for any recurring revenue home service. Think lawn care, pest control, pool maintenance, and beyond.
Each episode, we break down real-world strategies for customer acquisition, retention, operational efficiency, and building systems that generate consistent income while you step back from daily operations.
Are you ready to transform your home service businesses from a demanding job into a profitable asset? This is The Route to Revenue.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Ben McGee with Green Can Cleaner, and I'm here with Mike from Spiffy Bin. This is The Route to Revenue. How are you today, Mike?
Hey, Ben, I'm doing great. Happy to be here. You doing okay?
Well, thanks for making the time. Yeah. It's been a good day. So,
excellent.
What are we talking about today, Mike?
I'm looking forward to this episode. This is all going to be about churn in recurring revenue. So how churn, which basically means losing a customer and no longer having them in a recurring revenue situation, and how that will affect your business, and perhaps how to, what it does to your business, how it affects the numbers, how it affects routing, how it affects everything, and what that actual cost can look like to a business. We all know we spend a fortune in getting a customer, the cost associated with, but you can lose one as easy as just saying the wrong thing or not moving a truck. I've had a few of those instances happen. So
yeah.
And here's how you can keep them, I think, is part of our process here is making it so that so you don't lose the people. So
yeah, I think it's, part of, when we talk about churn, one of the things that we figure when we're looking at our marketing budgets is, customer acquisition cost and lifetime value. And if your churn's too high, then you lose the lifetime value. And so then your customer acquisition cost has to be lower, and it's just not good. It leads to a lot of problems. Big churn can be big problems.
So voluntary is less about that. I guess it's more like when the customer actively decides to cancel. In most of our cases, at least, it's they're moving. Perhaps it's a little bit about the price. The good thing is in most of our situations, it's that they're moving out of the area. Involuntary is more when we decide that they have to leave. They didn't pay the card keeps declining. They're not reaching out, putting a new card on file. They owe us money. The customer maybe didn't intend to leave, but we had to cut them off because our communications weren't getting through to them. Is that what you see as well?
Yeah, I would agree with that. That voluntary is when they actively decide to cancel, and involuntary is when sometimes, I've gotten calls from someone who, I would have considered involuntary churn, and they've gone, "Why aren't you coming?"
Mm-hmm.
And, it's, your credit card failed and we tried to get a hold of you and we couldn't, or, whatever.
It's amazing how much fraud is going on nowadays. Not that we're getting hit with the fraud per se, but that, somebody we've been going to forever, their card gets hit by fraud, and we must get 30 a month that we have to get new cards, and we have to get new cards to get them and keep them on the system. Are you seeing the same thing as well?
Yeah, I think we're more than 30 a month. Well, I know we're more than 30 a month. We're at about 7%.
Okay.
Where it doesn't go through and we have to get a new card, and yeah.
Yeah, it's such a cost suck to us.
It is. It's crazy. So what are the real reasons that people cancel? Let's talk about voluntary churn first.
Yeah, for sure. Again, my biggest one is that they've moved. They've moved either within our area. Most likely, though, Atlanta is a very transient city. it seems, people, there's a lot of headquarters here, and there's people that come and go from headquarters, and they're maybe going out to wherever, and they've got to move. So a lot of that is that they've moved. Some, I've had one or two where they died, which is a little awkward. And then the normal things like that. They may have had a service issue, and sometimes it's the first time they've had a service issue, and that's enough for them to cancel. Other times, maybe it's something that we messed up. We didn't come one day, and then 5 months later we don't come again, and then they all of a sudden think that this is going to be a habit.
Well, and
What
let's say
other
that
things are you seeing?
that is actually a systems issue. You
Hmm.
know, if
For
that
sure.
happens, we need to make sure that we do something about it, that we fix the systems. Um, I've had some that say, not very many, but a couple that say, I just don't think we need it anymore. And sometimes that's because, when they started the service, they had kids in diapers and now they don't anymore, or something like that. Generally, those people, and I would say that, they forgot the value would be a good way of putting that.
Hmm.
And generally, those people come back. Generally, they're like, oh yeah, I do need this service, and they
And
generally
we
don't forget the value again.
Yeah, and we do see seasonality, where people will fall off in
Yeah,
October, November, and then they'll come back in the spring. And I get it, we don't pay for lawn service all winter, all year round, and we don't need it all year round type of deal. So
right.
I can see that as well. They'll also oftentimes state price, which it could be a job loss. And in that regard, I get it, right? They're trying to cut back all quote unquote unnecessary services. But generally, that's just the reason they use.
Price
It's
is an
rarely the
excuse.
real one. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
kind of an
price is just an
excuse.
excuse. Yeah.
Yep.
So, um,
What type of experience do you have? Do you have like actual data that you follow, or how do you keep track of that?
we do follow it, and knowing that we were going to do this episode, I should have looked at those numbers and I didn't. So, I'll give you some generalities here
Hmm.
rather than specifics. I mean, our churn rate is, I mean, we're in the 1.5 to 2% rate. Obviously, it's a little higher during the winter, which I think, as you mentioned, people cancel, then they come back. I mean, there's just naturally some churn during the winter. This time of the year, we have almost no churn. And, unless someone's moving, or so that's why I say almost no churn.
This
I,
time of the year is March for those that
yeah, for those that
don't know
are,
when we're
we're
recording.
recording this on, I think it's March 5th.
It is.
And so, anyway, yeah, we have a really low churn rate. What about you at Spiffy?
We're similar. We're sub two for sure, and I think most of the time we're sub one, for the most part. And what we find is the same thing. It's always the same thing. Not always, but it is typically always the same thing that they have decided to move. We did have an instance where we lost three people with one instance with one of my employees, and unfortunately that resulted in that employee no longer being with us. But you can have something catastrophic that loses you a couple people right away. And unfortunately, we handled it as best we could once we became aware of it. But in their minds, they decided that was just not something they wanted to stick around with, and that's unfortunate. And maybe they'll be back. I let them know how we handled it, and that that's totally unacceptable. And but unfortunately, sometimes that does happen. Um, the majority of our involuntary cancellations is the credit card situations. I just don't know if people aren't looking at their emails. Maybe that's the way they're trying to cancel some things. Maybe when they switched the card, they said, "Oh, you know what? I don't really need these anymore, this service anymore," or what it is. But we spend an inordinate amount of time, in my opinion, trying to get people to stay on the program in some cases. And I think that's just a function of too much going on in our email boxes and different things like that. So our CRM does have the ability and capability of trying it multiple times. And there's different settings in there, but generally we're at, we try it right away. We try it the same day. Our sets up where it charges the same day of the month every time, or whatever, every 3 months or every month, or whatever program they're on. And then it'll try again 3 days later, and sometimes a week, and so on and so forth. And I generally go one extra service. Whether we should or shouldn't is a whole different story. But I kind of look at it as in my world. My world, I'm not always necessarily on top of that stuff as far as what happens at our house. So I kind of give them, quote unquote, the benefit of the doubt. But much more than that, and we're not doing it anymore. And how
I
do
agree with
you do
that.
yours?
I agree with that. So we give them two services. After the first service, we're contacting them and contacting them. We give them another service. And and here's the thing, it depends on how long they've been with us and how good they are. If this is a habitual thing, then,
It may not
as
be
soon
worth
as
the
the
money,
card fails,
the
I'm like,
time.
we're not going back.
Hmm.
Now, when
Hmm.
they pay and we go back and we continue to try and collect that, it's rare that I write any of these off.
Hmm.
Mainly because, I mean, yes, I could write them off, and we do that. I don't do it in the CRM. We do it, our CFO writes them off as bad debt and
Right.
gives us some sort of a tax break or something that I just don't understand, if I'm completely honest.
Sure.
Um, but then the other, the ones in the CRM, I leave them there. And the reason that I do is because then when they come back, we know that they have a balance due,
And they got
which
to settle that.
I'm surprised at how many people come back and go, "Oh, I didn't realize I owed you money. That's why you stopped coming."
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and it might be 6 months and it might be a year. We
And
had
they're
one
generally very
where
apologetic, right? I mean, they're
generally
pretty
they're
apologetic, and
well,
they didn't, and which tells me they didn't intend to do it. It's just we got stuck in the bottom of their email each time, or whatever, and or
however that
they
works.
get to that. I read it at a red light, and I'm not going to put my card in at a red light, and they forget about it. 15 minutes later when they get home.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. And
Now, do
here's the
you have
thing with
anybody?
us.
Do you have
So
anybody calling? Because
we
I'm this
do.
year I'm going to go hardcore on that. I'm going to we're setting up a list, and we're just going to start calling them and just hounding them, because I
So
think that's going to help.
yeah, so we do calls. So we send text messages, we send calls, we send emails. I think that the emails right when the card fails are the most successful. I think people get that email and they go, "Oh yeah, man, I forgot about that. That's the one that I
Right.
forgot to update." The thing that we do though, and this just goes into our customer service philosophy, is when we make these phone calls for a failed payment, we assume the best of everyone in every circumstance until they prove otherwise. And so
Right.
the conversation goes something like this: "Hey, Mike, it's Ben from Green Can Cleaner here. I'm guessing you got a new credit card."
Hmm.
And generally they go, "Oh, yeah, I forgot to update." Or they go, "I'm not sure what you're talking about. What do you mean a new card?" "Well, the last one didn't go through. Generally, that means that there was some fraud on your card or something like that, and you got a new one." And
Yep.
we assume that they have the money. We assume that they planned on paying us. And so generally, people don't even realize that it was a collection call when it comes from us. And that's the way that I
Right.
want it. So you say you're gonna hit that a little harder this year?
Yeah, we're yes. I've got two women that answer the phones for us, and they are very good. One's very good on the phone. And sorry if you're listening to this, the other one, but I think one just enjoys to be on the phone. This is more probably a better way to say it. Um, but and then the other one is more a numbers person, and so I'm gonna kind of have them tag teaming that a little bit. and allow for some phone calls, because I'm thinking back to like our pest control guy, our pest control company. Um, I just recently remember I had a problem, and they called like 3 times over 2 weeks. And, I just missed call. And then the third time I got it. But I think the consistency part shows that, you're there. You're not just there to clean for free. And they recognize that. But ultimately that was helpful. And we do the same thing too with the presumptive things. Typically we say, more than like I'm trying to find our automated email, but of course I'm not able to find it right now. But in the email, it basically says, the card was declined. Most likely, I was due to a swapped out card due to fraud, or, something like that. We're not going to say that, you didn't pay your bill last month and that's why they turned off the card or something along that lines. We won't say any of that stuff, but yeah, so that's helpful. What are you when they get a lot of times we see cancellations that we don't ever talk to them about. Do you reach out? Do you have your people reach out? Do you just kind of assume that that's their decision and move
So
on?
one thing that we do is they have to contact us to cancel. We
Hmm.
don't allow them to just go into their portal or whatever and cancel a service. They have to reach out. And
Hmm.
so in that, we don't give them any grief. We'd say, happy to, we'll cancel your service immediately and we get it taken care of. We do ask them for a reason.
Hmm.
And I think that that's important to make sure that we get to talk to them and find out why. And I don't ever accept it's not you, it's me. It's not like a breakup.
Yeah, right, right, right. I like it. I
you
like it.
know, so, but
And
yeah,
do
and
you, do you offer your CSRs opportunities to give something away, something for free, if it's something you're just learning about, some autonomy there? I imagine you do.
we we actually don't. And the reason that we don't is
Oh.
because we I won't say that we never discount our services, but we rarely
Well, what
discount.
if they just said, "Oh, I don't know, the last couple times they just haven't really been done well."
Then so in that case, again, that comes down to a systems failure, correct?
Oh,
So
sure.
in that case, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the system. We're going to figure out who's serviced them the past couple of times. And we're going to offer at that point to go back out and service them and make sure that everything's right. But in that, we're not going to try and keep them. Our intention is to make things right. It's not to keep them as a customer. That's not why we're doing it. And
Right.
so
But that might
in
be
that,
why they don't want to be a customer of yours,
well,
because
and
there was a failure there.
right. And so what we do is we say, you know what, no problem. I'll cancel your service, but can we come out and make this right? We'll be in your neighborhood next week. Can we come clean the cans? We're not asking you to stay a customer. We just want to make it right. That's who we are as a company. And generally they still cancel and then they're back in a month or two.
Okay.
So that's how we've just chosen to handle that. I hate when I go to cancel something and it's, oh, well, what if we gave you a discount? Or what if we did this? Or
Hmm.
would you stay a customer if? You know what? It just feels cheap to me. And so we just don't do it.
Right.
And I
That's
know
fair.
people would argue with me and say that I should, but I just feel like it's cheap. If you could have offered me that price before, why didn't you?
Yeah. That's
So
yeah.
so
That's
that's
true.
my take. Do you document the cancellations, the reasons? Do you actually have them written down somewhere?
We do as much as we can. We have not made it. They can cancel within Stripe for us, and there's no way in some cases to get that info from them. So we don't get a cancellation reason for everyone, unfortunately. I've tried to get that added, but it doesn't seem like anybody can figure it out for me. So, but we do send out an email in the cancellation, and we do ask. Is there anything we could have done? Is there anything we did do? Is there anything we, didn't do right? Can you offer us some help here? And, we were not able to, and sometimes we get replies, other times we don't.
Right.
So it's just it's a hit and a miss thing. I do kind of like your idea of having them, have to reach out directly. Is that email? Is that both email or is it phone call only?
We'll take email, text, or phone call.
Okay. Okay.
We don't care how they reach out, but they have to reach out.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's fair. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, for sure.
Do you do
Um,
any kind of a win back campaign? Do you have an automated thing that goes every 3 months, 6 months, something like that?
We don't. Again, I got a lot of stuff going on this year that we're revisiting people because if they've already used you, in most cases they've left, and maybe it was a lost job, maybe it happened 2 years ago and they just never came back around to get you. But if they remember that Spiffy Ben was there, and they came back around and reached out to him, so I think that is definitely something. I do subscribe within our CRM that gives us the ability to put them on campaigns and things like
Right.
that. So I just need to sit down one day and create those campaigns and go ahead and put them on there. We do the campaigns for like pressure washing, so there's no reason why we shouldn't do it, for this as well. And if nothing else, maybe at that 90-day thing when we reach out to them, or maybe 180 days later or whatever, when we reach out to them, then they'll go, no, you guys sucked because you did this, or something. I don't know. I
Right.
don't expect that to happen, but
Right.
it does potentially give that to them. Would I offer some more, some kind of a discount for that? I probably would. At the end of the day, if our goal is to get the customer and it costs me 15% or 25%, I mean, I do that in the ads. So in theory, somebody could leave, and then they click on Facebook. Oh, I do like them. I'm going to go ahead and and select
Right.
that. I don't necessarily have a problem with that. We don't do it long term. It's a one-time offer for whatever one service they went with. So I would do that. How about you? Do you have win back campaigns? Do you do phone calls? Do you
You know,
anything
we
like that?
we do an email, and again, I mean, I think to the person that's listening to this, I mean, this is kind of the way that home service works, in my opinion, is we're constantly trying to evolve and get better. So instead of just doing, Mike this year is going to add the email and maybe some other part of a win back campaign, we
Hmm.
are going to add on to our email. We're going to add texting. And I'm actually looking into the ringless voicemails. I'm
Yeah.
thinking that I may want to try some of those and just see. The other thing that I'm thinking about is to do some postcards. So
Hmm.
depending on, I mean, we'll see how things
Maybe all
move.
three.
Maybe do a little bit of everything and see what works and if we get the ROI.
Right.
So
Right.
I think that the main thing though is how do you build that long-term loyalty? What's the basis of long-term loyalty?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, they are paying for a service, and you have to ensure that your systems are in place and they're consistent with your pricing and consistent with your offering and consistent with your quality, and all of those things have to kind of jive, if you will, or be congruent with each other. If your price is so high and you deliver a poor service, it doesn't, there's no loyalty that can be delivered there. And then conversely, if your price is so low, I guess not conversely, but if your price is really low and your offering is low, that still may not be enough, right? I mean, in my opinion, it's got to be right there. And so making sure that your service is on time, there's great communication, there's great delivery of service, all of that has to kind of be in line, in my opinion. And that's first and foremost. I mean, hopefully you've already figured that all out, But at the end of the day, I don't have contracts. I don't make them stay with me for a year or anything like that. And the whole thing is, we've got to do great every time we come out. And if not, you're welcome to leave. And we don't want that to happen. And that fortunately doesn't happen very often. But it's often not how you do. There's some saying, and I'll probably botch it, but it's how you handle the mistakes too that can save a customer. It really says a lot about your business, because we're all going to fail. We're going to have people out there that'll fail sometime or do something wrong or miss it or double click something, and all of a sudden you've skipped their stop. But how do you handle that, and how do you get them back squared away? So, how about yourself?
So we do a few things, and like you said, I mean, this has been we always assume the best of everyone, and we go the extra mile to make sure that they're satisfied with our service. And one thing, I mean, when we talk about the involuntary, and you mentioned job loss earlier, one
Hmm.
thing that we do, if somebody calls us and says, "Hey, I lost my job," and this goes back, I had a client when I was first starting out. They'd been with me for 2 years, and they were one of my first clients ever. And I'm on a route, I'm still answering my own phone and trying to do cans. And this woman calls and she says, "This is so and so. This person is my husband. That's who the account is in. I've lost my job and we have to cancel this service." And I just, why I did this, I don't know, but I just said, "You know what? You're a monthly customer. You've been with me for a couple of years. I'm going to come and service you for 3 more months.
Hmm.
Well, that'll get you through the summer, and there's no obligation. If you go back to work and never want the service again, it's okay."
Right.
And she started crying. And she said, "I have made 10 of these calls so far today, and you're the first person that's treated me like a human being."
Wow.
And so that's kind of our thing now. Now we don't do it, somebody signs up and gets 3 services and then loses their job. We say, "Well, we'll see you when you get your job back."
Right. Right.
You
Right.
know, but somebody that's been with us for, a couple of years, if it's a
Sure.
quarterly customer, we give them 1 more service. If it's a monthly, we give them 3.
Nice.
And
I like that.
what's been amazing about that is, um, for a while we had some competitors in the area that were, posting on, when Facebook posts had come up in groups, they'd beat us to the punch, maybe on, somebody'd be like saying, "Hey, what's the company that cleans trash cans?" And their name had come up first. And then we'd
Yeah.
have like 4 or 5 of these people that we had done that service for that are like, "You can't use anybody but Green Can Cleaner.
Nice.
You just
Yeah.
can't."
We've
And
got some.
so,
Okay.
we really builds loyalty. And at one point, we had one that actually told people, I mean, they made a Facebook post in a really big group about how they'd lost their job. And the one company that treated them really nicely was us.
Nice.
And we picked up quite a few clients as a result of that. And so, yeah, I kind of got sidetracked there, but I think that building that long-term loyalty, you've got to look at what are the little things that you do as a company that keep people satisfied. And if there's a problem, how soon are you back to make it right? And
I
what are
like
you
it.
doing to go above and beyond to make it right? What do you do for like personalized touch points? Because I know you and I kind of have a similar thing here in that we want a relationship with our customer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll be honest with you, the thing I'm struggling with a little bit now is that I'm not on the truck a lot. So building that is a little bit more difficult, right?
Yes, it is.
But I'm reminded, I have a recent cancellation where the wife is, he was one of my early guys or early signups. I think he was like I kind of do things by job number. I kind of see, and he was job number like 310
Right.
maybe. And
Yeah.
I always do 2 jobs, that it's a whole thing, but each person, there's always 2 jobs. I have the first time visit is a job one, and then the second visit and recurring is job two, and so on and so forth. So he was probably early count, 160, 150, somewhere in that
Yeah.
ballpark, which is great. Well, sadly, his wife is very sick, and so she went into assisted living, and he's sold the house, and he's going to be moving, and different things like that. But I remember everything about him, and they, all the emails they sent. We just love Spiffy Day. It's fantastic. It's the best day of the month, or whatever, and I've power washed their property 4 different times in 6-7 years, and it's just those things are easier to do when you're on the truck. So I'm trying to find ways to do these things now. I don't have any kind of milestone acknowledgments. I do remember when I still have my first customer, but I remember when customer number 2 moved out of the area. So there's certain things, and I'll still remember, and it's kind of bizarre, right, with the number of customers we have, but you'll mention somebody's name and you go, oh yeah, that's such and such at such and such a place. And
Right.
it's crazy. I never would have thought that this would happen. But one of my funniest stories is I was training one of my drivers, and we're pulling up to this, and I look at my phone or at my iPad, and we're pulling up, and I go, oh, I go, watch this one. I said, and I hadn't gotten there yet. And I said, there's going to be a trash can on the right side of the driveway, the recycle bin on the left side of the driveway. And I said, and he goes, oh, okay, that's interesting. I said, and there's going to be 2 piles of dog poop, not 2 piles, 2 bags of dog poop in the bottom of the trash. And he goes, And so, of course, we pull up, and I go, bam. And there you could see the 2 things. And then when I get out and I go to the thing, I open it up and I go, bam, bam. And so sure enough, and he goes, I don't know what's more bizarre, the fact that you knew that or that their dogs are that regular. I
Right.
said, I don't either. But,
Right.
there are certain things that you recognize. So I don't really do a lot with the milestone acknowledgments, unfortunately. I think about it would be nice to do, but do the I don't know. I probably could spend more time on that, but I wonder if that's time well spent as well. So how about yourself? I mean, we are big on trying to get Google reviews and things like that. But short of that, I don't
The
know. I do
you know
respond
the
to my reviews.
the bottom line on this is I just think, I mean, Google reviews are great and everything else. The bottom line is that happy customers stay, and they
Hmm.
refer more happy customers.
Hmm.
And that's really what it all boils down to, in my
Yeah.
opinion. So,
Yeah.
Mike, I'm going to give just a little bit of something for that people can do on this. That if they're watching this episode, what can they do to take a little action? They can pull their last 90 days of cancellations, and they can categorize them, whether it's moved or a service issue or a billing failure or price or unknown. Now, if unknown is too big of a category, then you have a data problem and you need to get in and figure that out. Um, and
Hmm.
you need to make sure that you start recording the cancellation reasons this week, because you can't
Yeah.
fix what you can't measure. If and other than that, I would say look at, you know, when we're talking about churn, look at the reasons and see if you can improve them. If, there are certain things that there's nothing you can do about, but the ones that you can do something about, do something about it.
And I would add, because I'm going to actually do that episode closer that you've got there. I think that's a great idea. But I would add personally calling all the cancellations might not be a bad idea. I don't think I don't get too many. I think about last month, I maybe got 15 ish. I
Yeah.
mean, there's no reason I can't make, 12, 15 calls and maybe do them once a week. Maybe it's my Thursday morning at 10 o'clock. And are you going to get everybody? No, but at least if nothing else, it will be a good touch at the end where if they did leave for a reason that maybe was our fault, maybe they'll give us a second shot. Or if it's not, hey, that guy took 45 seconds out of his day to make a call to me. That's pretty cool, or what
Yep.
have you. So I think that's also going to be an action step for me. because we can learn from these calls as well, or from these podcasts as well, for sure.
I learn a lot from these podcasts, so
absolutely.
it's been great.
Well, awesome, Ben. I think that'll wrap it up for today. Appreciate everybody's time. We thank you for coming on, and taking time out of your day to listen to our podcast. And if you liked it, certainly give us a like and a subscribe, and most importantly, make sure you refer us out to other folks. We didn't talk much about Google reviews, but everybody kind of looks for the Google reviews to see how a business does. I think people will take their podcast choices as well from other folks. So take a few moments of time to share it with the people. We'd certainly appreciate it. And if you have any questions, reach out to us as well. We'd love to get some of those as well. So awesome, Ben. Well, thank you so much. And we'll see you on the next time.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, Ben, that's a wrap on another episode of The Route to Revenue. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love it if you would hit like, subscribe, and leave us old guys a comment about what we did well. And if we did anything wrong, can it and keep it to yourself.
If today's strategy sparked some ideas for your business, don't keep them to yourself. Share this episode with a fellow entrepreneur who could benefit from these insights.
Remember, building a recurring revenue business, it's not about perfection, it's about progress. Take one actionable step from today's discussion and implement it in your business this week.
Want to connect with us between episodes? Find us on Facebook or at our website. We'd love to hear how you're applying these concepts in your own home service business.
And until next time, keep building those recurring revenue streams and stay on the route to revenue.
The route to revenue.
Nice, Ben.